Hi, I'm Maggie.
And I'm Marin, and you're listening to
Tell Me I'm Sorry,
a podcast where we deconstruct and muse on depictions of girlhood in film, literature, and other media.
A feminist celebration of pop culture, the audacity of youth, and the ways we grow away from and into our bodies, beliefs, and dreams for ourselves and each other.
Today, we are welcoming you to the show.
Yes, we wanted to take a few minutes to introduce ourselves and to let you know what you're getting into if you choose to listen to us talk every single week.
Because we believe in choice.
Yes, and eternity. You'll have to listen to us for eternity, every week for eternity, potentially. I
hope we're still in our 80s.
Well, that we're still in our 80s. We're in our 80s. Not that there's anything wrong with being in your 80s. We're just really not.
Imagine, though, if we were old ladies and we still had this show.
That would be great.
Because it would mean the world hadn't ended yet.
Right. No, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
And that's all.
And we still had some kind of technology, and there was still some level of interest in just having conversations about film, which means, like, media still existed.
Yes. Oh my god, but now I'm envisioning an alternate dystopia where art ceases to exist.
It won't happen. It'll be better than that. Anyway, we've lost the plot, as they say.
But despite that little tangent, we have actually thought very deeply and for a while about what we want this show to be. And so we just want to give you some insight into that by talking about kind of the overall structure of an episode so you know what to expect. Every episode focuses centrally on a film that is depicting girlhood in some way. And from there, we just have a semi-structured, kind of long-form discussion about said movie. Often about how it is relating to girlhood, but also just talking about other things related to how the film is crafted, what we enjoy about it, what we find frustrating about it. We come to each episode with our pre-prepared points, things that we have in mind that we really want to talk about, but we also just are letting the conversation move organically. The one thing I feel like is worth mentioning is that our show is not a recap podcast. That's just not the format that we naturally gravitated towards when we started making this show. We're digging deeper into specific scenes in the movie or overarching themes. But at the beginning of each episode, we do provide a plot overview. So the discussion is hopefully accessible to everyone, whether or not you have seen the film. Maggie, what would you like to add?
I'd like to add, I sort of just show up with some thoughts in my head and then respond to Marin's very well prepared and well informed deconstruction that she has dutifully typed out and organized.
But you do have the thoughts in your head.
It's true. I do have the thoughts in my head. And they go straight into the microphone. I'm raw dogging this microphone. That's really what it is. I show up. I don't even show up. Marin comes to my house and I'm already there because I live here. Mm-hmm. And then I talk in a microphone about a movie that we watched.
But you do come with some intertextuality in mind.
This is true. Intertextuality is exactly what it sounds like. Or maybe you're like, I don't know what that sounds like.
It is kind of a pretentious word.
Yeah, truly. So think about text being intermingled with film and other media. That's really all it is. A variety of texts are used by us, by yours truly, to further deconstruct the film beyond our own thoughts and reasons, and to connect it to the world at large.
We come to each episode with usually at least one additional text in mind that we want to talk about. Usually it's from a book, but not always. There have been episodes we've recorded where we've brought multiple books into the conversation, but just putting the movie that is central to the discussion in conversation with other works of art that exist. Yeah. Because that's fun, and we went to grad school for creative writing, and so it's just hardwired in our brains to do that.
Yeah. We show up with our research.
Yes. Which gets to the other thing we wanted to let y'all know about, which is just a little bit about who we are. Maggie, who should start talking about how we met?
You can start.
Maggie and I both have MFAs in creative writing, and that was where we met. We were in the same cohort in grad school. We had our primary workshop together. So we got to know each other very intimately, very quickly, because I was writing nonfiction. She was mostly writing poetry, but you were also writing nonfiction. So we were just immediately submitting writing about our girlhoods and personal lives, and we had known each other 2 weeks and were critiquing said writing and talking about it. I feel like we bonded very fast. We've known each other since the fall of 2021. It's now summer of 2024.
We were both writing about our experiences growing up Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
And so definitely there was an instant connection with that as well, because if you're unfamiliar with the Catholic religion, I mean, any kind of religion has its own rituals and its own ceremonies. And so to be able to be in conversation with somebody who is already familiar with this foundation of life experiences that you've had, it's always helpful.
The other thing about us that might be of interest to people is that we are 10 years apart in age. I, Marin, am 25. I was born in 1998, so technically I am part of Gen Z. I'm the oldest echelon of Gen Z, though I personally have never felt super connected to generational labels as part of my identity. But that's where I fall on the spectrum.
And I'm 35. I was born in 1988, and I am a millennial. I don't really know what the years are, what the time frame is for like a millennial. I think I'm older-ish. But I know there are definitely millennials younger than me, too. But not too much younger than me. As far as identifying with a certain generation, I don't know how true that is. Although technology has moved so rapidly, I would say that is a way in which there is somewhat of a generational divide.
Yeah.
Not necessarily between Marin and I, because I feel like you're just kind of old school in so many ways. Insofar as just being off of social media. But even if we don't necessarily like adhere to these identities, certainly being 35 is much different than being 25.
Indeed it is.
My life was so much different, and I think that we just bring different experiences to the table for a lot of reasons, but our age is definitely one of them, and I really appreciate having that perspective.
I do too. Plus our pop culture saturation is so different, I feel like. I couldn't even tell you, you're gonna hate this, I couldn't even tell you the name of every Spice Girl.
I knew you were gonna say that. I was like, she's gonna say the fucking
I know Mel B, right? And Victoria Beckham.
What?
Right?
Yeah.
Are there 5? How many are there?
There are 5. There are 5 Spice.
I couldn't tell you the other 3.
We're gonna have to get into that later.
And that's my own cultural failing, that I don't know the names of all the Spice Girls. But
a moral failure.
You mentioned something to me a while ago when you were saying that you wanted to use our age difference as a marketing ploy, because you said that Millennials and Gen Z are supposed to hate each other. According to who? Because I've never heard this.
I mean, not according to everybody, but it's a very popular thing to do on TikTok. Is a millennial woman will post a video of her existing, and then Gen Z gets on there. It's like, millennials are so cringy. That's a thing, for sure. I haven't seen millennials be as harsh. We're definitely a little shocked and afraid about some of the styles that are coming back, but I don't even know if that's Gen Z's fault. That's alpha at this point. I mean, that's all in good fun to me, but some people really don't like millennials, or they really aren't fans of Gen Z.
Fascinating.
And I was like, I feel like the internet would like to hear a success story of a millennial and a Gen Zer who could somehow get along beyond all odds.
We are the inspirational example.
I'm friends with plenty of people who are Gen Z, but the internet is such a divisive place to use that little fucking buzzword that maybe it seems more prevalent there than it really is.
That makes sense.
So the title of our podcast, Tell Me I'm Sorry. Marin and I met in a creative writing program because we've both been writers forever. Mm-hmm. My first journal is dated 1998. So the year Marin came on this earth, I was like, I need to start recording every thought I ever had and writing poetry about it. And there are file folders upon notebooks, upon drawers full of all this juvenilia. And we actually decided to look through that juvenilia to find a title because we wanted to keep in the spirit of our younger selves, to honor that part of us. And so I found a poem, or at least a fragment of a poem. And the last two lines are, no exhibit of dirty girl and apologies, line break, tell me I'm sorry. And dirty girl was a kind of self-mythology. I was self-mythologizing this version of me as I was living into it, which is so bizarre to think back on. And I wouldn't have had the words to articulate it in that way. But this idea of dirty girl was, of course, someone who wasn't concerned with purity, or at least was making decisions that weren't concerned with purity, even though those kinds of religious ideologies were integral to how she knew how to exist. And so tell me I'm sorry, that phrase is in several spots throughout my journals, especially when I was in high school. And I think I wrote it so often because I recognized in some ways that the world owed me an apology. I knew that there were things about existing in my body that were responsible for why the world treated me a certain way. And I just wanted someone to say that they were sorry, I think. At the same time, I wanted to be able to say it to myself. I wanted to apologize for myself because I knew I believed the stories the world was telling me about how I should hate my body and the things that I loved. That's where the title came from. Tell me I'm sorry.
I love that. That was perfectly said. I don't think I have anything I could possibly add to it that could make it better.
Well, that's our podcast. That's what it's about.
That's what we're trying to do by talking about movies.
And books.
And books. And
music.
Television and music and everything artful that makes the world less shitty.
We're going to have to watch Spice World.
Okay.
Now. We're going to have to educate.
I know.
Marin needs her education.
Educate me. Thank you, everyone. We hope you like it. And even if you don't.
What?
I should.
We hope you like it. And if you don't, then just don't listen to it. That's
there. Yeah, that's exactly what I should have said.
That's all.
Okay. Welcome.
And goodbye.
Bye.